what I love about this partnership, and you guys in particular as well, is you're very forward thinking and progressive in trying to figure out lay of the land, what other solutions are out there that we can impart to ultimately just help overall housing and just moving things forward. And so, got introduced to, Flex Flats. So Mark, if you kind of want to discuss that, because I think for us, and for the audience and the users, what we're trying to do is figure out, or what we want to provide as value is we understand that obtaining the adaptive reuse is an entitlement, right? But you do need to check off on some minimum requirements. So that's in the works, and we're going to provide that because we really want to also provide, well, did you know that this site can qualify for an entitlement? Not that the developer definitely wants to do that, but I think the barrier of entry is information. So if we could provide as many options as possible, then that site might also lend toward FlexFlat. So if you want to kind of, share that as well.
Yeah, sure. And this really comes out of, just across different markets. I mean, we're California heavy, but we are national. And so we see lots of different trends in different markets. And sometimes we see things that push the envelope a little bit and we go, hey, what if we took that a little further? And that really was the genesis of our research and development, or R&D studio. So we take that and develop kind of on our own dime ideas that might be sort of like the next idea. So some of them include like, young families living in cities, right? And that's an underserved market. Everybody knows that. But what would it mean, to adapt an apartment building so it's friendly to young families, right? And so we looked at that. And that's the sort of thing we're doing, looking for our clients, who might not want to try things to be the first, but to really just push it a little further and see. And that's really where the Flex Flats idea came out, which is really adaptive reuse, and particularly in LA, that's there's some major benefits to adaptive reuse in terms of, zoning and affordability. But because of the sort of unfortunate nexus of this year of people working from home and pandemic issues, is that there's a lot of office building owners who are nervous, and I would be too, right? And we have looked in the past at how do you adapt office buildings to residential, and we've done a fair number. Usually they're historic buildings. So we have one in downtown Long Beach, historic office building, beautiful, from the 30s, and changed it into a memory care residential building. But modern office buildings, there's many more of those, and how could they be adapted, right? Or how could their use change long term? Not that you're flipping uses back and forth, but suppose there's a 10-year trend decrease of office space and you own a bunch of office buildings. So we were looking, okay, let's take a look at this, what it means, like a very generic, typical office building. And so we looked at how that could be adapted into a residential building in the same way, along the lines of a new user, a new office user moves into a building and does a TI, right? So we looked at it as, what if we do a residential TI? What would that really mean? That's the Flex Flats. And can I share my screen and show a couple slides?
Oh,
is that
absolutely.
possible?
Yeah, please do. Give me 1 second. Okay, you should be able to.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I had to change that setting. So,
okay.
Yeah, while you do, like I said, I was genuinely surprised at how many different R&D concepts that you guys had cooking. And so it is, a lot of them are relevant pre-pandemic, right? Based on trends and the studies that you guys did on the usage of office, how many offices are vacant, right, and not being utilized. And so I think you had come to that determination that there are still going to be opportunities. And then the pandemic hit, and it became the ultimate disruptor that just is accelerating the need for adapting its original use to a more high ROI use. And so, I think it's been great.
And I think that, I mean, I know we're live, and so I'm having some trouble sharing the screen, but let me just describe it
Yeah, yeah.
in words. So basically, we took a 5-story office building, 20,000 square foot floor plate, which is very typical, and said, how would we change this like a TI project, meaning without reskinning it, without changing the the way that mechanical and electrical is distributed, nothing like that. And what we came up with was basically a plan that uses um, uh, a mixture of deep units and shallow units to kind of maximize the residential floor plan. Because of course, an office floor plate could be like 120 feet wide, and really a typical residential is more like 68 feet wide.
Mm,
So we do have, and this is where we sort of, this is where it becomes a little bit of a what if. We say, well, to use the space effectively, we have to have 60-foot deep units. And if you're have any experience in residential, you go, 60-foot deep units, how could that possibly work? Well, interestingly, again, with the idea of sort of some of these new trends emerging,
mhm,
and developers who work in urban environments already know buried bedroom units that are kind of deep on towers often, typical urban scenario. So we took that idea but made it into a 2-bedroom where you actually have a T-shaped living room and then an office and 2 bedrooms. And the beauty of this is you use a lot of sliding walls to basically make it very flexible. So accommodates a family, check. Accommodates 2 people working from home, check. Converts back to a family apartment in the evening, check. So all of a sudden that depth becomes a program advantage, in a way that you can't adapt a 32-foot deep unit easily to. And so that's pretty exciting. And then in my mind, in 10 years, when suppose in 10 years, so there's a sudden demand for office building, your asset still has a lot of value. You could do another TI and it becomes an office building. And so it could affect the way that office assets are valued and looked at long term. Because right now in the short term, they can be a liability if they're not tenanted up already. So
agreed.